and to get their goals in health, in life, and in business. With the founding of Gather in 2019 and its expansion in 2020, she took her own goal-getting advice and created a community of like-minded women who are growing and thriving together. Tracie coaches around the country, one-on-one and in groups, to help them move from stuck to shining bright so they can be their best selves, live their truth, and thrive. Welcome, Tracie. I am so happy to have you here today.
Hi, Kelly. It's great to be here with you again, as always. Mwah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you got your start as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I usually say that I was kind of an accidental entrepreneur. Even though I had those thoughts, I had never had a business of my own before. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I had tried a couple of times, but didn't really have any guidance or experience. But I had the idea that I thought it would be cool, right? Even though I came from the corporate background. So, I grew up in Silicon Valley. I did everything we were supposed to do, right? I got good grades. I went to college. I got good grades there. I got a good job. And, in Silicon Valley, you had to get paid a decent amount of money, still do, to be able to live and survive. And so I did all those things and it was fine. I was good at my job. I enjoyed my coworkers. I enjoyed what I did. And I met my husband when I was in my early 20s. So he was my first husband. He was with me throughout college and throughout my early career and almost all the way till the end. But once he and I started our family, right after our son was born, he was diagnosed with cancer. So for the next 4 years or so, I was working full time, managing his schedule with treatments and chemo and radiation and all those things. And we had another baby. So we had 2 little kids. And ultimately, at the end of 4 years, he passed away. And I was left not, without him, without any family around, and with 2 small children, trying to figure out how to navigate life. What I realized about a year later was, after coming out of kind of that fog of everything being a blur, I'm sure you can imagine, it kind of got a light bulb kind of went on and said, okay, I am ready to make some changes because I'm exhausted all the time. I don't have any energy. I never get to spend time with my kids because I drop them off, go to work, pick them up, come home, do dinner and all that. Maybe we have an hour together. And I realized that if I didn't change something, like this is not the life that I imagined for myself. As a high achiever, I really thought that we were in store for more. So I decided to start with what I saw in the mirror every day, which was the fact that I was very overweight after having 2 babies and not caring for myself, only caring for him and working all the time. So I started to recognize that if I started to make some changes in my health, that maybe I would feel better and have more energy and we'd have more fun, more fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
So I did that. I lost 55 pounds that year. And thankfully, the way I did it was with a structured program that had a coach. And so not only did she help me learn some new habits and understand, really what my body needed and how to eat better and how to think differently about my health. But she also taught me how to coach. I got a chance to help other people with their health, but I also got a chance to learn what it means to be a coach and to understand how to listen to people and to really show up for them in conversation. And so that's how I got started coaching.
Yeah, that's quite the journey. And I was really struck by you saying I did all the things I was supposed to do because I have that same story. In fact, those same words, I did everything right. I did all the things I was supposed to do. So it's great to see that arc, barring the unfortunate circumstances that led you that direction.
Well, the other thing about that is it's not that that was bad, right? I really did. I loved the company that I worked for. I enjoyed the work that I did. I think that in a corporate environment, I was in a role that really suited me, that really helped the company do their objectives and all of those things. But ultimately, it didn't serve my personal desires. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck there with, this is what I do, either in their identity as this is what I am. A lot of times it's a lot of nurses get in that, right? They're totally burning the candles at both ends. I am a nurse. And then it's hard to imagine doing anything else. Or the fact that, in a big life upheaval, the idea of doing something different is often hard to imagine how that would be okay when what you have is so okay. But it's the difference between being okay to good to great.
Yes, I absolutely see that. And a lot of times speaking for myself, I think there's an element of fear, not that you necessarily can't do, but you need the safety net, especially as a single parent, or, just picking up your toys and doing something else may just not be, it may be way beyond scary. It may mean really putting the family at risk.
Right, there's a risk.
Instability.
And you know what comes to my mind when you said that, what I love about the pandemic, you like this? What I love about the pandemic is I think it's letting people realize that it's okay to not know what's coming next. Like, if you can wrap your head around the idea that it's okay, that you have no idea what's to come, and that you can live with that, right? Like, that's it. It's not impossible to live in that space, right? Yes. And you can make plans even with the unknowing in front of you, right? We have no idea. I mean, when we first started, gosh, if you want to talk like back in June, we had no clue what the future held. Now we're starting to get a clue of what the future might hold. We don't really know how fast everything's going to change. Now we're here in January of 2021, but 6 months ago, we had no clue how it was going to pan out. Now we have a picture of how it's kind of going to pan out, but the time frame is a little fuzzy. And 3 months from now, it's going to be so much more clear, and we're going to get back to that ability to see what's to come. But I think what's great about the living in the pandemic is that we started to learn that we can actually move forward even without knowing what's in our future. Because that's what I did when I started coaching. I knew that I could coach, but I didn't know that 6 months after I started, I would quit my job and leave corporate and figure out how to have coaching be my business.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the key takeaways is, if you have a dream, I'll call it. I tend to, I have concerns about using the word dream, because you want to have more than just a dream. You want to put planning behind it. But if you have a dream, go for it.
Yeah.
The very worst thing that can happen is that you go back to the lifestyle that you might have had before. But the very best thing that can happen.
Or if you have this dream kind of churning in you, and you like deliberately push it aside because you say it's not possible, because that's the problem. Because the dream can be possible. Obviously, we have to figure out how. And that's where the planning comes in. I think there's a difference between dreaming of what's possible and fantasy.
Yes.
Right? Having that fantasy life versus, and that was something that I really had to learn too. My first husband, if you look at, couples, a lot of times you have kind of the dreamer and the doer, right? Well, he was the dreamer and I was the doer. Now that I'm remarried, I would have to say, well, my husband has a good imagination. I'm the dreamer and he's more of a doer. As with an engineering mind, right? He's very meticulous about making things happen. And I'm more of like, well, that's possible, so it kind of shifted, which is really fun, because I think there's both in all of us.
Absolutely.
to shove that dreaming half of us aside, saying that whatever it is that we're dreaming about is not possible, or that we're not worthy of it. Like that's the bad stuff. That's where we get stuck.
I completely agree. And talking about dreaming, let's talk about Gather for a minute, and your journey with Gather, because that's quite the
that's kind of it turned into kind of a nice dream too. So my first my corporate job, I was a facilities project manager. I have an interior design background. I made the spaces. I managed the fact that we hired architects and interior designers and furniture people, and made sure all of our environments in the office space were nice and functional and livable and inspiring, and people enjoyed working there. So when I started coaching and really started moving into more life coaching from the health coaching that I started with, I really started to enjoy doing group projects, group work. Group coaching programs is my primary way of coaching people now. And I love doing workshops, right? In person, bring some people together, whether I'm teaching, certain skills related to coaching, or doing vision boards, or, whatever we can do in community. It's something that I just really, really enjoy. And I find it really impactful for a lot of people. So I started to do more of that, but I was coming up against real challenges here in Santa Cruz to find places that I wanted to rent, to hire, to be the venue for my workshops. I could find some places that were available, but they weren't really lovely. Like the spaces themselves, it was kind of like the middle school gym kind of vibe, right? Bad floors, bad lighting, bad stuff. And those are available out there, and they have a function, kind of rec center kind of stuff. And then you have like the super high-end hotels with, and you have to hire all the catering and all that. And I wasn't quite there yet. I wasn't, doing a big thing. I was kind of just getting my feet on the ground, but the environment in the space is really important to me. So the places that I was finding were always booked. And I thought to myself, well, I know how to make spaces. Maybe I'll make my own. And about 2 years ago, I started asking people, what do you think? Do you think I could do this? Do you think it would be useful? And I got such amazing positive feedback. So I started, right? I started learning things that I didn't know from my previous job, things like commercial real estate. And it was a very exciting learning time. And found a place. That place didn't work out. Found another place. It was a big exercise in managing my own expectations and staying focused on the goal. And it was really cool because I never got spooked, right? When I lost the first space that it turned out that it wasn't going to work out, I didn't get discouraged. I was just like, all right, well, we'll find another place. There's got to be a place. So we found it. We opened in October of 2019 as a storefront space here in downtown Santa Cruz. I really wanted to be downtown, that could hold up to 49 people in workshop setting, classroom setting, whatever. And we really started to get some traction from middle of October through the middle of March. And then, of course, in March of 2020, we had to turn out the lights and close the doors and wait to see what was going to happen. But I realized that with my goal of building community gather in the physical space, that if we couldn't gather together physically, that a lot of the people who were interested in using the space, if I didn't help them to transition to this online space, that they might not be around when we got a chance to reopen, because they were struggling too. And so I kind of pushed aside the fact that I had this place that I have to pay rent on. And like, I was like, okay, that's true. But what's really true is that we all need to keep moving forward and have success, so that later when we can reopen, we're all still here. And so that's what we did. Instead of supporting people with using the physical space with promotion and support, we now do that for people's online spaces or online events, I should say. And it's been amazing because we're now able to build community across the country. And really, actually, the last event we had in December, we had someone from across the world attending. So I can say we're international, global. That was pretty exciting. Thanks to him. And we also get to serve, and all of those facilitators, everyone who's doing their workshops has an opportunity to reach people outside of their own geographic area. So our members are primarily West Coast, Western United States, but we're reaching people across the country every day, every week. And, you know, people knock social media, but really it's an amazing tool to connect to people, for good or bad, right? And if you stay on the good, then it can really help you continue to move forward, even when you don't know what the future holds, which is what we were just talking about before.
And this, I think, is the key. You went from realizing your dream to having it dashed 5 months later, just as you were taking off and building your community reputation. And when you realized that, you didn't lick your wounds and go into your cave and hide. You said, how can I serve my community and make something that's bigger and better for all of us? And you still have your physical space ready to reopen when that's possible.
Yep.
Yet you've now expanded and your dream has gotten even larger and encompasses more people to help them and support them. Is that, I mean, that's the way.
And what's funny is I have this light on my face. I'm trying to, fixed it.
There.
What's funny is, you know, when we closed, we didn't know what the future held, right? We knew that we were going to have to stay home, but we did not know how long that was going to last. And at first it was like, okay, well, you know, and I don't sit still very long. Like I even on the weekends, like we're recording this on a Sunday, like I'm okay, you know, because I don't believe in balance. I believe in blend when it comes to work life, right? So the idea of, okay, we can't physically gather now, but we didn't know how long that was going to last March. We thought maybe it'd be a couple of months. And, you know, within about a month or so, it's like, okay, you know, I'm kind of used to not being there. Now, what am I going to do? Like, if this is going to go on, I got to come up with something else. And that's when I kind of looked at not only what am I going to do, but what is everyone going to do? And that's, I think, what community is about, is looking at the bigger picture of not just you and your own little cocoon, but everyone around us. You know, these people are my friends. These people are people I care about. And if I'm really caring about that, I'm not only thinking about how am I going to survive, but I'm thinking about how all of us are going to survive and how can I help? I mean, that's a coach like that. This business is made for me. Like I was always this person. I just didn't know how to do it as an entrepreneur. I just did it. I was in customer service, you know, from working at a car wash when I was 16 to working at a fabric store and cutting out fabric to, you know, all of the things I did my whole life. It was all still serving the customer and helping them get what they need to accomplish what they're looking to accomplish. And now I just do it in a different way, but it's made for me. So that's just was the natural tendency.
So I love this. And I think going back to the concept of community, which is really the core of all this, a rising tide raises all boats, as we know. And building a community, you touched on that before, but I really want to kind of drive it home. It helps everyone within the community. They can rely on each other for referrals or, you know, support in areas where they need support. It just builds a great net, a safety net, I don't know, it builds, I think, a much stronger, all the parts build a much stronger whole.
Well, that's where, like, the idea of a network, that's what that is, right? We are a net. We're all intertwined. And a community is also kind of a network, right? One of the really fun things that I started doing, probably the first thing I started doing when we shut down, was when Gather the Space was still open, I was like, okay, if this place isn't booked, maybe I'll do some co-working time. And so I put it out on Meetup. Hey, come down. We've got free coffee. We've got Wi-Fi. We've got lots of space. Come and do some co-working. And I had some interesting people show up, but it never really built any traction because I had to physically be there, whether people showed up or not. And of course, the benefit of being online is I'm here anyway. So it's not like I have to drive there and turn on the lights and make sure the temperature, like all the physical things. I'm just here at my desk. So I open up Zoom and I say, okay, we're going to do virtual co-working, online co-working with your virtual coworkers. And we started in March or first part of April with doing 3 hours a week. And hey, we're going to be here for an hour. If you want to get some stuff done, come on down and just say hi. And we're co-working together online on Zoom. Open up the Zoom. In my coaching business, we used to call those power hours, right? Let's get together for an hour, set an intention for the hour. Okay, I'm going to, contact this many prospects. I'm going to reach out to 5 clients. I'm going to, do whatever. And so we just did that same thing with the larger community. Whatever your business is, come on down. And it was a great experiment at first because I got to figure out how, what worked for people, what value they found, on different days of the week, what worked for them. And about 2 months later, it got really kind of a lot, right? 3 days a week. And so we shifted to doing it for 2 hours every Friday. And we find that Fridays tend to be a really great day for entrepreneurs because they're not really setting appointments. People don't have a lot of obstacles, like they're not setting outside appointments, doctor's appointments, things like that. And of course, during the pandemic, we didn't have a lot of that anyway. And it's the idea of, okay, we went through this week and I've been meaning to get to that and I've been meaning to get to that. And you get together on Friday at 2:00 and everyone says, I'm so glad this time is here. I've been meaning to get to this all week. This is what I'm going to work on. And then we're all on Zoom. We all mute. We all kind of put everyone's pictures, everyone's faces off to the side, and we work together with our virtual coworkers, all, face to face. It's been so awesome. And I still do that to this day. There's been very few Fridays that we've canceled, and there's very few Fridays coming in 2021 that I expect. Like it's on the calendar for the whole year. So that's something, and it's for anyone. There's no agenda other than the agenda that you bring. And just the people that come, like people get to meet new people and you get to get stuff done. And at the end of the day, it's 4:00 Friday afternoon and you're able to say, I feel accomplished. I can leave my office and go to my weekend. It's been great.
Awesome. It's again, there are so many things that click. I counsel all of my clients to leave at least a couple of hours, 2 hours minimum, on a Friday, but typically it's on a Friday. So it can be any day of the week, but typically it's on a Friday where you just take care of all of those small things that you didn't get to during the week. Yep. They're not a top priority, but by clearing them off your calendar, you've exactly right. So doing something like this, the power hours, the co-working time is a perfect time to do that and basically have some silent support while you're doing it. I love that idea. And it's something I think that I would recommend to all of the listeners to check out with Tracie. Where would you, well, we'll put I'll have you put the information in the chat to sign up for that and just participate. There's not a cost for that, right?
It's
just totally something that you offer. So
yep. We call it Coffee, Create, and Collaborate. Because I love coffee, as you can see, giant coffee cup. And not that I'm usually drinking coffee on Friday after 2:00, but sometimes. And but it's great because again, it's collaborate, it's create, it's whatever it is that you're working on, bring it, and let's just help each other get it done. So down below, you can see I put tracieroot.com/CCC. And if you just sign up there, you'll get the Zoom link. It's a one-time sign up, and you'll get reminders every week. And again, it's from 2 to 4 Pacific every Friday. And yeah, we might talk about something that's exciting that's coming up or things like that. But really, it's let everyone kind of build community, whoever shows up. If it's new, there's new people, we all do introductions. What's going on? What are you working on? And it's inspiring and empowering to be together and know that everyone's working on getting some stuff done.
I love it. It's all about building your network and building community and building support for your business.
Yep.
And if there's an overarching lesson that you see in all of this, what would you say that would be?
Well, I think we have to go back to the idea that even if you don't know what the future holds, to go for it type of statement, go for it, right? That's a little like trite, I suppose, but it's true, right? If there's something that you have in mind that you want to do, like, start looking at it more closely. If it keeps coming to your mind, I had that when I was going to college. I didn't know what I wanted to study. And this is, a long time ago, my boyfriend at the time, he was just like, well, you always talk about interior design. What if you studied that? And I was like, that's a really good idea.
There's a thought.
And it wasn't something that I had consciously understood, but clearly I had been mentioning it, because where would you have gotten that from unless I had been talking about it? And so that was like, that formed my whole life. Like, you can see how decisions at an early age, carry on. But if there's something that just kind of keeps, that you dream about in your sleep, that, like, my daughter right now, she's obsessed with anime and wants to go to Japan. So she keeps talking about it. I am convinced that she'll be doing school abroad in Japan, 100%, because she's, if you're obsessed about it, keep working on it.
May I just put in a personal story?
Yeah.
How old is your daughter?
She's 12.
Perfect. When my son was 11, well, through his teen years.
She just turned 12, so she was 11.
Yeah. So he also discovered anime, and this was a couple of decades ago. When he was 11, he went to Japan, not with his parents. He went with my cousin and his wife, and it was, it was I had a little trepidation for him, going off into the world. He didn't speak Japanese. And it was one of the best, most formative experiences of his life. So if she has the opportunity to go, she should absolutely make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and just even
she should find an opportunity to go.
Well, and that's right. And that's the thing. If it's something that you're really, really interested in, obsessed about, whatever, and I don't say obsession as a bad thing, right? Like,
No.
like it's just something that you're fascinated with. Like, there's a lot, we have the internet, right? Go look it up, find it. She recently bought 3 books about writing Japanese writing, and they're great books, right? It's like Tracie, and it's a way that she's going to have to learn some more of the language, being that she's too young to take a class, right? It's great. And with the internet, you can research like what's possible. I said, if you want to do, go to Japan as a study abroad, look for study abroad programs. What is it? International studies? Is it Asian studies? Is it like, what is it? And then what do you want? What would you like? You can back it all out. And that's goal setting, right? Here's your goal, back it out to what can you do now that would get you on that path? And, what would you study in high school? What would be your thing? You're in 6th grade now. Like, I get that your classes are limited, but what could you do as a hobby that would serve that? And, because if you don't love it now, doing things like that, and that goes for all of us, right? If you don't get into the steps that it takes at the early stage, you're never going to get to the late stage. So so maybe that means that it's not for you. Or maybe it means you need guidance and, more direction. And that's what coaches are for.
Well, Tracie, you just opened this up. We're going to have another talk about goal setting, because I absolutely agree. Her at her age right now, learning how to set a goal and accomplish it is going to serve her well throughout her life. And and of course, I'm a big believer in goals. You're a big believer in goals. So I see another topic right there that we need to talk about in depth.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to ask you after we do this to go ahead and put all of your information in the chat and tell people about any upcoming programs and things that you have. So everybody check the chat to find out what's going on with Tracie right now. And I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation, as I always do.
Same.
And
we'll just do this like every day.
Absolutely. I look forward to the next time. All right. Well, thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.